Hi friends, my name is Jake. Welcome to Canadian Cutting Edge, and today we're taking a look at a knife by Kizer, new for 2021. This is the Grazioso. Silly Jake. Designer, Sheriff Manganas. I probably said that, I butchered that name, probably said it all wrong, but here it is. I'll cover my eyes so it'll stay focused on the knife. She is a beautiful knife. We've got brass and very fine linen micarta. You can also get it with copper and G10. Same price. It's around $69 US in most places. $110 in Canada at Blades Canada, aka Warriors and Wonders. And I'll leave links down below, but at White Mountain Knives you save 10%, making it $62.10 in US. And my focus is knives under $60. This came so close after you get that 10% discount that I just had to review this when I saw this available. We've got a beautiful recurved blade, sort of a harpoon style blade, and a very comfortable handle. And it's not as heavy as one would think with this brass up top on the bolster here. If you're interested in looking at a cool knife, stick around. The full review is coming to you in just a moment. Let's start off with a size comparison with the Ontario Rat 1. Lining up the pivot pins, we've got two knives very close in size. Let's move it closer to the middle here. This guy's just a little bit shorter, not much at all. It's got more of a cutting edge, but a little bit shorter. Basically, this a little bit thinner, not much at all thinner. But you can clearly see that it is a smaller knife, but it fits my hand quite well. I really like how this thing feels in my hand. Even though the pocket clip is upswept at the end there, that doesn't bother me on this knife. My fingers, my first two fingers get in the front. My ring finger comes right there, and it's just comfortable. Of course, I'm left-handed. If I wear it in the right hand, or wear it, yes, this is jewelry, man jewelry. If I use it in the right hand, again, that little bit of an upswept doesn't really come into my hand and hurt it at all. Yeah, I use knives left-handed most of the time, but a lot of the time I use it right-handed as well. And I was looking at my camera instead of watching what I was doing. That's why I slipped off. The flipper tab is actually quite nice. Jimping right there on the front of it, which helps get grip to do a light switch method, but even better, just pushing down on an angle works best on this knife, even better than the light switch method. And the detent on this knife is pretty good, holds the knife in very well. Blade alignment, almost perfect, seems very good to me. Lockup is ideal for a brand new knife, at least in my opinion. I like exactly where that is. Access to the lock release, there's a little bit of jimping on that liner lock, just a little bit of a cutaway. It works perfect every time I've tried to unlock the knife. No pinching, no hot spots that sometimes happen in that region, so that's very good. And the handle, this is supposed to be green micarta. Now I'm going to include some video right now of the unboxing. And now look how it looks now. My hands are a little bit oily, and so it turned it into a light brown micarta. You can see where my fingers mostly sit, and the spaces between, it's just a little bit lighter. And then on this side, you know, where my hand doesn't get by the pocket clip so much, it's a little bit lighter as well. So it definitely is an absorbent micarta. And even though it's a very fine micarta, I tried it getting it wet. It still has very good grip in the hand. I really, really like this. If you prefer copper over brass, well, then you're going to get black G10, which I think is a bit of a, what's the word I'm looking for? You're taking a hit. This linen micarta is very, very nice indeed. But if you really like G10 and copper, there you go, get those. The brass here, it's, you know, a solid piece of brass, and it looks good and it feels good. It's decent. We've got a blade shape, like I mentioned earlier on. Maybe I should have led with this. It's like a harpoon style, but sort of stretched out. I think it looks really nice. Very fine tip and fairly strong because you got the swedge coming along and then the bevel. And so you've got almost like a four-sided piece of material right near the end. The swedge ends just a couple millimeters before the very end, but I think it's quite strong at the tip. I did do a little bit of testing in some pine, putting the tip in and then trying to break it out, and it worked just fine. We've got a nice belly here, very slight recurve, and instead of a sharpener's choil, we've got a finger choil, and they did this finger choil perfectly. What I really like with a finger choil is where your finger goes, it doesn't just rest on the blade, it rests here equally onto the liners and to the bolsters. So you've got a nice thick bit of material right here where you're gripping and holding, and it's perfect. It's just big enough to fit my finger and small enough that you still have a lot of cutting edge left on this N690 steel. I like it. The badging, we've got Grazioso right there, and then the designer's mark right there. Looks like a falcon or something, and his name, Magnanas, up there. And on this side, we've got Kizer, N690 down here, and the actual model number for this bronze and micarta one is right there. So they've got a lot of information on there, but it's kept small, and it's kept on the ricasso and then on the flat, and I like how that's done. Very well done. The handle. We've got sort of like this chamfer all the way around it, and it's large, and so there's a big chamfer even at the back and at the belly. That's one of the things that makes this handle feel so very, very comfortable in hand. It's one of the most comfortable knives I've reviewed this year in terms of grip, and I'm talking about folding knives. You also get a long stretch here where you've got that jimping. That really helps as well with the grip. And we've got no liner. We've got liners. We've got no lanyard option on this knife at all. Maybe they could have put a pin back here for a lanyard. I don't use lanyards much, so I don't really miss it, but I'm sure some people miss a lanyard option back here. But we've got that brass back spacer as well. The pocket clip, it's a deep carry pocket clip. They use flush screws. I really like that. And it's not a standard off-the-shelf pocket clip. They made it just for this knife. I really like that as well. They've used button screws for the liners and everything. A larger screw for the body screw here, and then these two just hold the liner on. And so these are T6, I should say. Let me see here. They're T6. There's just a little bit of play here, not much. So there shouldn't be a problem taking it apart later on. And the pivot pin is quite good too. A little bit of play, not much at all. It looks like a lot, but that's because I got this wide paddle here moving back and forth. If you see it this way, it doesn't look as much. So yeah, the general overview of this thing's quite nice. There's a lot of skeletonizing on this knife, even on the side that has the lock arm. So we'll see that in a little while. What did I cut with this thing? I cut all kinds of stuff with this, and it's beautiful. It just cuts very, very well. They made it very thin behind the grind. They did a decent job with the grind angles. I'll give you all the specs for that later on. And it's great for puncturing if you need to. It's great for slicing, cutting. It's an all-round good user. Action's beautiful. It just slides really well, and it's almost, I don't know what people call drop shutty, but it's got very good action. It wants to stay closed, or wants to close, and when it's closed, it wants to stay that way. Very, very good indeed. Before I take it apart, let me give you all the sizes and dimensions. N690 steel, Rockwell's usually around 59, plus or minus a little bit. And the weight of the knife, 123 grams, 4.35 ounces. I got lost on my sheet where I was. There we go. The factory edge, 165 bess. That's for the sharpness. a little bit, not quite as sharp as average, but still it was fairly sharp, and that thinness really helped it. And we can sharpen it again pretty easily. Cutting edge length, 81.2 millimeters, that's 3.2 inches. Blade length, tip to the closest spot on the handle, 84.8 millimeters, 3.34 inches. The thickness of the blade is 2.93 millimeters. That is 0.1155, so just a bit under 1/8 of an inch. The blade depth, it's biggest right here at this harpoon point tip thing there, 22.7 millimeters, 0.89 of an inch. How thick is it behind the grind? I measured it in a few spots. 0.38 millimeters, which is 15 thousandths of an inch. That really helped it a lot. And the sharpness here, oh, I didn't average it out. On this side, 23.5, 22.4, 20.8. On this side, 23.4, 22.5, 21.1. Averages were on the screen. That's not bad. For a knife in this price range, that's fairly consistent for what you get. But N690, especially as a gentleman's knife, I might sharpen this thing down to a grind angle of 15 degrees per side. If I knew I was going to be hitting heavier stuff, harder things, I'd probably sharpen it to 18 degrees per side, or something in between 15 and 18. I think it really can handle that, as long as you're not going to abuse the knife. You know, if you're going to use it as a gentleman's folder, I think those are fine angles to sharpen it to. The length of the handle, 120.7 millimeters, 4.75 inches. The grip area, it's just under 10 centimeters, under 4 inches, just barely. The thickness of the blade handle, thickness of the handle is 12.2 millimeters, 0.48 of an inch. So between how thin it is and this nice chamfer, it just feels great in the hand. The handle depth within the grip, the widest point is right there, 23.3 millimeters, 0.92 of an inch. When the knife is closed, it's up here at the flipper, 31 millimeters, 1.22 inches. And the total length of this knife is 205.5 millimeters. And I forgot to put the inches on the screen, on the paper. It's on the screen, but it's just a bit over 8 inches, almost 8 1/8. Looks like it's just a bit under 1/8. So not bad at all. How much does this knife cost? Like I said, $69, so $62.10 at White Mountain Knives. They've sold out of both of them at the time of recording this. You click the notify me button and they will email you when it's back in stock. What do I really like about this knife, and is there anything I don't like? I like this fine linen micarta. That's awesome. It really does have my DNA on it now from my sweat and everything, but I really like this thing. The detent is perfect. The flipper is very good. I really like the way it works. The forward choil is actually usable. You don't have to change anything to use it. There's great extension with this handle. You can grip it back here and you got lots of extension, or you can pull forward, and that's really nice. It slices well, cuts well, pierces well. The recurve works like a dream, but it's not so dramatic that you're going to have trouble sharpening it. The jimping's spot on. I really like that. And the pocket clip is nice. I didn't show how it looks in the pocket, did I? Let's do that. It climbed over every single time. It's pinching nice and tight. Goes to the full depth because of the flush screws. And there you go. I like it a lot. There's a good amount of retention. What are the cons on this knife? I think a lanyard pin would be nice. Not a hole through here, but a pin option back here. That would be a really nice thing for them to have. And it's not really a con, but if you don't like the absorbent material like this micarta, well, then you can get G10. But I really wish they would have given both options on both steels or metals. If you could get the brass with the micarta or G10, and if you could get the copper with micarta or G10, that would be a much better deal. These swedges, they're just ideal the way they were made. You know, the branding is just right. It's a very nice knife. I'm going to take it apart and show you the insides. Okay, I've loosened all the screws. They did use Loctite in there, so that's okay. You have to take the pocket clip off to get at that back screw. So I'm taking this apart in front of you for the first time. There we go. We've got a nice D-shaped pivot pin, D-shaped receiver, and it's is it D-shaped there as well? That's round there, I think. Yeah, that end's round. The D shape is back here on this liner right here. So that holds it. And I haven't seen these brown holders for these ceramic ball bearings, but we got ceramic. We've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 ball bearings in there. I like the size of it, like the width and everything. That's very nicely done. Captured stop pin that rides in there. Here's your skeletonizing, a little bit of weight reduction on the back spacer there. And look at all these little holes. Just a row of little holes here. And, well, that's for the liner, for the pocket clip, I mean, back here. So, yeah, well made. Well made indeed. Let's see, did they do a... Yep, they've got a slight ramp right there, like Tucson does. So, very well done. I'm going to clean everything up like crazy and re-lubricate it and put it back together and show you the ending of this video. Well, before I put it back together again, I decided I was going to sharpen the knife, and I settled on 17 degrees per side. I didn't spend a lot of time because I had to finish recording the video, but pretty much a mirror edge on there, and tested it a little bit. Oh, wow, this thing cuts like crazy. And that tip, super, super pokey with that very, very fine tip. That'll go into just about anything. That's a beautiful knife. And I sharpened this recurve with an 1.5 inch wide stone. Most stones, the standard is 1 inch wide. I've got a set that's 1.5 inch wide and 8 inches long. I use those just to prove that a recurve like this is not hard to sharpen. You know, you just have to, you know, let's say this is the stone, you ride on the edge a little bit, you know, when you're doing that section there. Instead of going flat on the steel, just a little bit on the edge. It takes a little bit longer, but you can certainly do it with a flat stone. And beautiful, beautiful knife. Lubricated it as well, and action's even better than it was before. Just a tiny bit of lubrication. And I just use budget lubrication. Lucas fishing reel oil is what I use. Got links for it for Amazon. On Amazon, I've got a bunch of links for a bunch of knives as well. If you want to go to Amazon and shop there, you can start with one of my links. I've got them below the video. Look in the doobly-doo in the video description section. I've got links for all kinds of stuff that you can get cheaper. Tools, screwdrivers, KC Tool Company, great place to get some tools. They've got a special right on, a Christmas special for Wera drivers. That's this brand right here. It's a German brand. I got the camera bouncing. They're very good. I like Weha as well. And it's an advent calendar of tools that they've got a special on. Really, really good deal. They don't have the T8 and T6 for your knives, but KC Tool is a great place to go shopping for any of your hand tools that you need if you want high-end tools. And even though I am a budget knife guy, I believe in high-end tools because high-end tools keep you from stripping out, or help keep you from stripping out screws. The cheaper your screwdrivers are, the more easily you're going to strip them out. So there you go. The Grazioso, designed by Sheriff Manganas, made by Kizer, is a steal of a deal in my opinion. I like it quite a lot. The only people this is not for is those that insist on having a lanyard on their knives. I think anybody else is going to really like this thing a lot. Thanks for watching my video. Thanks for helping out my channel. Thanks to my Patreon supporters and my YouTube members. You guys are awesome. Thanks for letting the advertisements play. Just letting an advertisement play a little bit on a video does help me out an awful lot in the long run if everybody does it. Or even if just a bunch of you guys do it. Remember, friends, always cut towards your chum, not your thumb. Bye for now.